you propose to Helena?
Thinking back on when I was getting ready to propose to Helen, we were really not financially ready to get married, but we were definitely in love. And we knew we wanted to be together day and night. And I remember one evening we were at my parents' house, we were having dinner, and it was one of those, just a regular evening. And I remember just saying something about how much I loved Helen and we would like to get married. And it was like my parents didn't even blink an eye, and they said, then let's do it. And the next thing I knew, we were driving off to Vegas. We were on our way, the whole family taking off to Vegas. When we got there, we said our vows, we did our thing, and we were just so glad to know that we were now married and we could be together 24/7, start a family, do the whole 9 yards. We were ready. We were just excited. And I look back now and I think it doesn't matter how big or how small the wedding is, as long as you have a good relationship.
Yes. And you know, it's really funny because we all went in this one car, and it wasn't a station wagon.
Oh,
back then they had, and all three of us are in the front, and then in the back it's his mother, his grandmother, and his two sisters. We all drive in a little car all the way to Vegas. And you know what the funniest part was? We didn't even stay there. It was like I call it a wild toad ride, because it's like we went over there and we got married and we turned around and came back. I go, we didn't even stay overnight. I go, we're all tired here. I go, what was this? What kind of a crazy ride was this? But it was fun, you know, and it's always, I mean, I've never regretted it.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Or maybe once or twice. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. That car that I labored, the labor of love, that labor of love took me like 3 years to build from the ground up. I mean, from the body coming off the frame of the car, it was painted by hand, body going back on there. This car was the epitome of perfection. And then came the day. After we got married, she told me, she says, you gotta sell the car. We need to buy a house. And I had to think about that really hard. And the day came when I actually crossed that line and realized the car was not as important as she was. And I sold it. I'm glad I did it now, but at the time it hurt. Your friends would say, hey, where's your car? They would make fun. They would tease me. I mean, this car started out, I used to play pool with guys in the garage. I had a transmission laying on the floor in the garage next to the pool table. And that was the beginning of building the car. They go, where's the car? I go, that'll come later. I got the transmission. Later on, I'll get the car. And they would laugh at me and go, what are you gonna do, put a saddle on that transmission and ride it? I said, no, you'll see that car one day. And it came to fruition. And then I had to sell it. And that was probably the beginning of a wise relationship, learning to communicate. Yeah. And for me to break down and not be the macho man that said, this is my car and that's not going anywhere, I was able to humble myself and say, you know what? The relationship is more important to me than the car was at that point.
It was an experience. That was our experience of being young, not having very much money, starting out young. I had a full scholarship to go into nursing school at USC nursing school, and I got married instead. I went back to nursing school after, you know, Tiffany was 2 years old, and I finished my schooling.
And that's how we got through the first beginning years.
I mean, we had our differences, of course. I think everybody does, but we always worked on it. We always communicated. To us, communication has always been important. And the other thing was never to let the sun go down on our anger, which is another scripture, you know, biblical scripture, where it says, you know, solve it before you go to sleep.
I think it made it a lot easier being on the same page.
She
was raised Catholic, I was raised Baptist, and it didn't really matter. We just wanted to find a center which God would be in our life and not have to claim any religions.
What do you think is the secret to a successful marriage?
Boy, you want to start?
I think being best friends.
We learned right off the bat that you gotta understand each other. You gotta really know your partner. And you gotta take all that into consideration, because if you don't, you can find yourself going down a path by yourself, just doing your own thing. And it takes a lot of work. It doesn't happen on its own. And it just keeps getting better and better as you get older and older. It seems like life becomes more enjoyable.
How have you kept the romance alive throughout the years?
I think the romantic things that we do are just special things, like trying to get into your partner's head and let them know that you're thinking about them.
Well, you know what I love the most? It's when he rubs my feet. And it's like, those are the little things that you kind of just take time for the other person. We like to do things like that.
See more of Helena and Randy on NUVOTV's House of Joy.